I was just a boy when it happened, too young to understand, yet old enough to remember. The elders still tell the story today, gathered beneath the great baobab tree, their voices heavy with both awe and sorrow. It is a story of ambition, of defiance, and of the price one pays for stealing from the gods. It is the story of Ekene, the boy who dared to steal the sun's fire. Ekene was unlike the other boys in our village of Nsumba. He was clever, too clever, some would say. While we spend our days herding goats, fetching water, and learning the ways of our fathers, Ekene spent his time asking questions no one could answer. Why does the sun burn so hot? Why must we sleep when the moon rises? What if a man could hold the sun in his hands? The elders would shake their heads and warn him, "Curiosity is good, my son, but too much of it can blind a man." One year, during the Harmattan season, when the air was dry and the wind carried dust from the faraway desert, the sun burned hotter than ever before. The river shrank, the ground cracked, and the crops refused to grow. The people of Nsumba suffered, their voices hoarse from thirst. The elders made sacrifices, offering yams, kola nuts, and the finest palm wine to the gods. But the gods remained silent. Ekene, impatient as always, watched the rituals with disdain. "Why do we beg the gods for what we can take for ourselves?" he whispered to me one evening as we sat by the river. "If the sun holds the fire that brings life, then why not bring it down and share it with the village?" I laughed. "How do you plan to touch the sun, Ekene? It sits high in the sky, far beyond our reach." But Ekene's eyes gleamed in the fading light. "Not for long," he said. That night, while the village slept, Ekene climbed to the tallest hill, the one where the spirits were said to whisper in the wind. He carried nothing but a hollowed-out calabash and the determination of a boy who had never learned fear. He called upon the sun, speaking in words no one had taught him. He spoke not as a beggar, but as an equal. And the sun, perhaps amused, perhaps angered, listened. The next morning, Ekene returned, his hands wrapped in cloth, his eyes wilder than I had ever seen. In his calabash, flames danced. Not ordinary flames, but a golden fire that burned without wood, without oil. The villagers gasped as he stepped into the square, holding the fire high. "We no longer need to beg the gods," he declared. "We have the fire of the sun." At first, the people rejoiced. With Ekene's fire, we cooked without gathering wood. The night was no longer dark, for the fire never dimmed. Even the village chief, who had once dismissed Ekene's ideas, praised him. "The gods have favored you," he said, "but favor from the gods is not given freely." Strange things began to happen. The river grew colder, the winds harsher. Animals that once roamed freely vanished, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light before disappearing into the shadows. The village elders grew uneasy. They gathered in the chief's hut, whispering amongst themselves. "The sun's fire does not belong in the hands of men." Baba Olisa, the oldest of them, warned, "There will be a price." Ekene refused to listen. He had tasted power, and power does not let go easily. He carried the fire wherever he went, ignoring the cries of the spirits that whispered through the trees. "The fire is ours now," he would say, smiling. "Let the gods try and take it back." And take it back they did. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, a shadow passed over the village. It was unlike any sunset we had ever seen. The sky darkened, not with night, but with something deeper, something alive. Then came the sound, a deep, echoing voice, neither man nor beast, yet more powerful than both. "Ekene of Nsumba," it called. You have taken what was not yours. Now you will pay the debt. The villagers ran, seeking shelter, but Ekene stood his ground. He held up the fire defiantly, daring whatever force had come for him to take it. But the fire, the very thing he had stolen, betrayed him. The flames grew, twisting like golden serpents, rising higher and higher until they were no longer in his hands, but above him, surrounding him. I will never forget his scream. The fire did not burn him as ordinary flames would. No, it consumed him from within, pulling the life from his body as if reclaiming something that had never belonged to him. And then, just as suddenly as it had come, the fire vanished, and so did Ekene. The village was silent for a long time after that. The river returned, the crops grew, and the animals came back. But the people of Nsumba never forgot. To this day, no one dares to speak Ekene's name near the fire. Parents warn their children, do not reach for what is not meant for us. The gods give, but they also take away. And if you ever walk through Nsumba on a quiet night, when the stars shine like embers in the sky, you might hear a whisper in the wind, a whisper of a boy who wanted too much, a boy who stole the sun's fire.